Hi guys, it's Tony the vet again, and today we're going to be talking about some of the issues surrounding rabbit ownership. Rabbits are a very popular pet and we see lots of them in practice, so it's good to have a few little things to talk about just so you know what to look out for and how best to care for your little rabbit. So some of the rabbits that we see are often highly bred, so we'll get lots of smaller dwarf rabbits and little creatures like that which tend to have a few more issues, usually around dental care. So a lot of these smaller rabbits will have problems with their teeth. So if the teeth aren't aligned very well, sometimes the incisors at the front can grow a little bit out of the way they should, and that can lead to them having trouble getting hay into their mouth and grinding up their hay. If rabbits don't chew up hay and other fodder readily, you end up with lots of gut problems. So if there is a bit of a genetic issue with the mouth and the conformation of the head, and this leads to problems with the gut, you'll often have a lot of trouble going forward. So if you are getting a rabbit, try and get one with as normal a conformation as you can, because some of the more highly bred smaller rabbits tend to have issues. So when you are getting your rabbit, just be asking the owner or the breeder to just see the parents and just to see what they might turn out like when they get a bit older. If they are able to get food and eat it readily and get hay and grass into their mouth, what they'll do is they'll grind up the hay with their cheek teeth, which will bear down all the side little spurs, and they won't get any issues with any ulcers. If they can't do that and they start eating some of the mixes and the pulses and grains and the supplementary feeding that you're giving them, they're more likely going to have dental disease. And if they have dental disease, that will upset their gut. If their gut is upset, you're going to have a sick rabbit because they're going to need to be continuously grazing, and if they can't do that, you're going to have a lot of trouble with their tummies. If they end up getting trouble with their tummy, you're going to potentially get diarrhea and loose poo, which can also lead to smearing at the back end of the poo, which then will lead to trouble with flies and things like that, and hygiene will become a big problem. So if you end up with that situation, you're going to have to continue washing and cleaning your rabbit and make sure it's nice and dry afterwards. So if they do start eating things other than hay, they're going to be prone to becoming obese. Around here, around their neck, they'll sometimes get a skin fold, which will stop them being able to eat their cecotroph, and that will get smeared around their back end, which will mean that you'll end up with a case of dermatitis and quite a smelly rabbit because they'll have a lot of staining at their back end. So it's important that they don't get overweight and that they don't have trouble getting to the cecotroph to be able to eat it. So hygiene is very important. But the main thing with all rabbits is that they have a ready access to hay. Hay is the staple of all their diet. If you feed them too many mixes, rabbit mixes or commercial mixes, there's going to be potential for trouble in the oral cavity and with the gut. And if that happens, it can lead to a lot of side issues with rabbit health. If your rabbit does end up in the unfortunate situation where the conformation of their head isn't great and maybe a little bit abnormal, it's worth routinely getting their teeth checked by the vet. The vet will maybe use an otoscope or something similar just to look into the mouth, just to see that the teeth are okay and that there aren't any sharp points on the molars at the sides, and also to check to see that the incisors at the front are growing normally. If there is a misalignment in the oral cavity, this can be addressed under anesthesia, where they'll have to readdress the teeth conformation by burring them and maybe even rasping the cheek teeth to make sure there's no sharp points touching the tongue or the cheeks. So one thing that you need to be a little bit careful of when you're lifting your rabbit is that you always support their backside, their undercarriage. Just don't flop them like this. That's quite dangerous because they are predisposed to having lower back issues. So you can easily damage one of the discs in their backs. When you pick them up, make sure you support their bottom like this. Make sure they're always supported evenly, just so there's no chance of them having any trouble with their lumbar spine. Another little thing to watch out for as well is make sure your rabbit doesn't become too heavy or overweight. It's very important as well for their health going forward, and they are prone to getting arthritis later in life if they are carrying too much weight. So just good quality food, keep them nice and clean and healthy, and you'll have a nice healthy rabbit. That's everything from me, Tony the vet, for now.